to make a long story short, whether you want to call Washington, Lincoln, and FDR dictators, this sort of, opprobrious word, what they were was basically national CEOs. And they were running the government like a company from the top down.
So why is democracy so bad?
So it's not even that democracy is bad, it's just that it's very weak. And the fact that it's very weak is basically easily seen by the fact that very unpopular policies like mass immigration persist despite strong majorities being against them. So the question of basically, is democracy good or bad, is, I think, a secondary question to, is it what we actually have? When you say to a New York Times reader, democracy is bad, they're a little bit shocked. But when you say to them, politics is bad, or even populism is bad, they're like, of course, these are horrible things. And so the thing is, when you basically want to be say democracy is not a good system of government, just bridge that immediately to saying populism is not a good system of government. And then you'll be like, yes, of course, actually, policy and law should be set by wise experts and people in the courts and lawyers and professors and so forth. Then you'll realize that what you're actually endorsing is aristocracy rather than democracy.
Your ideas are ones that have been pointed to by people in real positions of power in the Republican Party. I think it's probably overstated the extent to which you and J.D. Vance are friends, but he has
definitely overstated.
He has mentioned you by name publicly and referred to de-wokeification ideas that sort of are very similar to yours. You've been on Michael Anton's podcast, and Michael Anton has been sort of tapped by Trump to be high up in the State Department, talking with him about how to install an American Caesar. Peter Thiel, a major Republican donor, has said, you're an interesting thinker. And so let's say people in actual positions of power said to you, Curtis, we're going to do the Curtis Yarvin thing. What are the steps that they would take to change American democracy into something like a monarchy?
My honest answer would have to be, it's not exactly time for that yet. Because what I see happening in DC right now, nobody should be watching this panicking, thinking I'm about to be installed as America's secret dictator. And I don't think I'm even going to the inauguration.
Were you invited?
No. Why? I'm an outsider, man. I'm an intellectual, and the actual ways in which my ideas get into circulation is actually mostly through the staffers and the kind of younger people who basically kind of, swim in this very online kind of soup. And I think that's fine. I think that what's happening now in DC, to sort of distinguish my much more radical ideas from what's happening now, I would say that what's happening now is there's definitely an attempt to revive the White House as an executive organization, which sort of governs the executive branch. And the difficulty with that is if you go to Washington and say to anyone who's professionally involved in the business of Washington that Washington would work just fine or even better if there was no White House at all.